I don't find out about my wife's affair in a dramatic way. There's no argument, no confession, no moment where everything suddenly explodes. It happens quietly, almost accidentally, which somehow makes it worse. I'm sitting in my car after work, parked in front of our house, engine already off, just staring at the dashboard like I do when I don't feel like going inside yet. It's late, the street is quiet, and nothing about that moment feels important. Until it is. I'm scrolling through my phone, half distracted, opening apps without thinking, when I tap into my photo gallery. I don't know what I'm looking for. I just scroll. And then I stop. There's a photo I don't remember taking. It must have synced automatically. Mark had borrowed my phone once. Or maybe Emily did. I don't know. I just know it's there. It's not blurry. It's not accidental. It's clear enough that my brain understands what it's seeing before my chest does. It's Emily, my wife. She's sitting in a bar booth, leaning forward slightly, laughing. Not a polite smile. Not the tired smile she's had at home lately. It's real, open, comfortable. Across from her is Mark, my best friend. The guy I've known for over 10 years. The guy who stood next to me at my wedding. The guy who has a key to our house. For a second, I genuinely think there has to be some explanation I'm missing. My brain starts working overtime, trying to protect me from what my eyes already know. I check the timestamp. 2 weeks ago. A Thursday night. I remember that night clearly. Emily told me she had to stay late at work because something came up. Mark texted me saying he felt sick and was heading home early. I remember eating dinner alone and not thinking much of it. Now I'm sitting in my car, staring at that photo, realizing that while I was alone in our kitchen, they were together somewhere else, laughing like nothing in the world could touch them. I don't feel anger right away. That comes later. What I feel first is something colder, heavier, like the moment when you realize the floor under you isn't solid anymore, but you haven't fallen yet. I scroll past the photo. There are no more like it, just that one, like a mistake, or a souvenir. I sit there longer than I should, replaying it in my head, trying to figure out how long my life has been quietly moving in a direction I didn't agree to. When I finally go inside, nothing feels different on the surface. Emily is in the kitchen, scrolling on her phone. She looks up, smiles, asks how my day was. Her voice sounds normal. Too normal. I answer the same way I always do. I don't mention the photo. I don't ask questions. I eat dinner. I shower. I lie in bed next to her, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe, wondering how someone can be so close to you while being somewhere else entirely. Over the next few days, I tell myself it was nothing. I tell myself friends meet up sometimes. I tell myself I'm paranoid. I tell myself I'm tired and my brain is looking for problems that aren't there. But doubt doesn't argue with logic. It just waits. And once it's inside you, it starts connecting things whether you want it to or not. I start noticing details I ignored before. How Mark always seems to know when Emily is busy. How Emily suddenly needs privacy with her phone, turning the screen away without realizing she's doing it. How conversations stop when I walk into a room, not dramatically, just enough to feel off. Mark starts giving me advice about my marriage, telling me I should be more patient, that Emily's been under a lot of stress, that sometimes relationships go through quiet phases. That word sticks with me, quiet, because that's exactly what this feels like. Quiet deception, quiet coordination, quiet lies that don't cause a scene but slowly rearrange your reality. I don't confront anyone, not because I'm calm, but because I'm afraid that if I speak too early, I'll destroy whatever illusion is still holding my life together. Instead, I watch, I listen, I replay memories, and the more I pay attention, the clearer it becomes that this didn't start recently. This wasn't a mistake made in a weak moment. This was something that had room to grow. The worst part isn't the idea that my wife might be cheating on me. The worst part is realizing that my best friend might have known exactly what he was doing the entire time, and chose to smile in my face anyway. By the end of that week, I don't need more proof to feel different. I walk through my own house like a guest. I talk to people I've known for years like they're strangers. And somewhere deep down, I already know that whatever I'm about to uncover next isn't going to make things easier. It's only going to make things clearer. Once doubt settles in, it doesn't stay in one place. It spreads. It follows you into rooms you've been in 1,000 times and suddenly makes them feel unfamiliar. Our house doesn't change, but the way I move through it does. I start noticing how often Emily's phone is in her hand, how quickly she locks the screen when I sit next to her, how her answers to simple questions have become slightly delayed, like she's choosing the safest version of the truth instead of the real one. I tell myself I'm imagining things, that I'm reading into normal behavior because of one photo. But the problem is, once your trust cracks, everything starts sounding hollow. Compliments feel rehearsed. Affection feels timed. Even silence feels intentional. Mark doesn't help. If anything, he makes it worse. He starts showing up more often, dropping by unannounced, texting me random questions that don't need answers, asking how Emily's been, but phrasing it like concern instead of curiosity. He talks about work stress, about feeling lonely, about how hard it is to maintain relationships as you get older. I listen, nod, play my role. Inside, I'm cataloging every word. The strange part is how normal he acts. If he were nervous, angry, defensive, anything obvious, it would be easier. But he isn't. He laughs. He jokes. He sits on our couch like he always has. And that's when it hits me. Whatever is happening between him and Emily has been happening long enough that he's no longer afraid of it. That realization changes something in me. I stop looking for proof and start looking for patterns. I stop asking myself if something is wrong and start asking how long it's been wrong. I replay memories I used to trust. Late nights. Canceled plans. The way Mark and Emily sometimes exchanged looks I thought meant nothing. Back then, it felt harmless. Now it feels coordinated. One night, Emily tells me she's going out with coworkers. She says it casually, like it doesn't matter. I tell her to have fun. She leaves and I don't follow her. I don't check her location. I don't call. Instead, I sit at home, realizing how strange it is to suddenly feel like the safest place to observe a lie is from a distance. Because checking would mean choosing a reality I wasn't ready to live in. Later that night, Mark texts me. He asks what I'm doing. I tell him I'm home. He replies with a thumbs-up emoji and nothing else. That's it. No follow-up. No joke. Just confirmation. I don't sleep much that night. Over the next few days, the pressure builds. Not from arguments or confrontations, but from the effort of pretending everything is fine. It takes energy to act normal around people who might be betraying you. Every conversation feels like a test. Every smile feels like a lie I'm supposed to believe in. I start questioning myself more than I question them. I wonder if I'm becoming paranoid. If I'm projecting fear onto innocent situations. If one bad thought has poisoned everything else. That's the most dangerous part, when doubt turns inward. Then something small happens. Something almost meaningless on its own. I'm cleaning out the garage when I find an old jacket of Mark's. He left it here months ago. I reach into the pocket to check for keys or trash, and my fingers hit folded paper. Receipts. Not recent. A bar receipt. The same bar from the photo. Same booth number printed at the top. I don't need dates to know this isn't random. I don't feel relief. I don't feel vindicated. I feel tired. Because now I know this isn't about one night or one bad decision. This is routine. Familiar. Comfortable. And comfort doesn't come from accidents. I put the receipts back and hang the jacket where it was. I don't say anything. Not to Emily. Not to Mark. Not to anyone. I start to understand that there are two kinds of confrontations. The ones you rush into out of emotion, and the ones you delay because you want to see the full shape of the truth before it hits you. And I'm not ready yet. By the end of that week, I'm carrying something heavy inside me. Not just suspicion, but the weight of knowing that the people closest to me might be the ones rewriting my life behind my back. I don't know how this ends, but I know I won't lie to myself to keep something familiar. I just know it's moving forward whether I'm ready or not. And whatever comes next isn't going to be something I can ignore. The truth doesn't come the way I expect it to. There's no dramatic reveal, no moment where someone finally breaks and confesses. It comes quietly, almost politely, which somehow makes it worse. There's a message request on my phone late one night. A name I recognize but haven't seen in months. Sarah, Mark's ex-girlfriend. We were never close, just friendly enough to exchange small talk when our lives overlapped. I almost ignore it. At this point, ignoring things has become a habit. But something in me hesitates, like my body already knows what my mind is trying to avoid. Her message is short. She asks if I'm alone and if we can talk. No emojis, no context, just that. When I call her, she doesn't waste time. Her voice sounds calm, but not relaxed. More like someone who's already cried about this and is now just trying to finish the conversation. She tells me she's not calling to hurt me. She tells me she debated reaching out for weeks. Then she says my wife's name, and suddenly the room I'm in feels smaller. She doesn't accuse Emily directly. She talks about Mark first, about how he changed months ago, how he became distracted, secretive, protective of his phone, how she found messages she wasn't supposed to see, messages that weren't explicit enough to be undeniable, but intimate enough to feel wrong, lunch plans that turned into evenings, jokes that didn't need to be shared, familiarity that crossed lines. Then she says it plainly. Mark admitted it. He told her it wasn't serious, that it was temporary. That word again. Temporary. Like what I've built my life around is some kind of inconvenience that would sort itself out if no one asked too many questions. She tells me she ended things with him the night he said that she couldn't stay with someone who treated trust like a flexible concept. She apologizes to me, even though she doesn't owe me anything. She says she's already told the story so many times it no longer hurts the same way. She says she thought I deserved to know. When the call ends, I sit there in silence, staring at my phone long after the screen goes dark. It buzzes once. Nothing important, and somehow that makes it worse. I don't feel shocked. I don't feel angry. I feel something close to confirmation fatigue, like my body has been bracing for this long enough that the impact doesn't knock me over anymore. But something shifts. Up until that moment, a part of me was still holding on to the idea that this might be messy, confusing, unintentional. Now I understand this wasn't an accident. It was a choice. Repeated, maintained, protected. I replay the past year with new eyes. The late nights. The inside jokes I didn't understand. The way Mark always seemed just a little too involved in my marriage. I realize how often he positioned himself as the reasonable one, the supportive one, the guy looking out for both of us. I realize now he wasn't trying to help. He was trying to manage the situation. That realization hurts more than the affair itself. Because cheating is betrayal, but planning is something else entirely. I don't confront Emily right away. Not because I'm afraid of her reaction, but because I want to be sure of my own. I want to understand what I'm feeling before I let it spill into the open. I watch her move through our routine like nothing has changed. She talks about her day. She asks about mine. She laughs at things on TV. She kisses me goodnight. And I wonder how many times she's done this while carrying something she never planned to share. Mark texts me the next morning. Just a casual check-in. Asks if I want to grab a beer later in the week. I stare at the message longer than I should. It's strange how easy it is for him to act normal, knowing what he knows. Or maybe it isn't strange at all. Maybe that's the point. I don't respond. Instead, I sit down and start writing things out. Dates, times, conversations. Not because I need evidence anymore, but because I need clarity. I need to see the full shape of the lie. And the more I write, the clearer it becomes that this wasn't something that happened to me. It was something done around me. That's when I realized the hardest part isn't going to be confronting them. The hardest part is deciding what kind of person I want to be once I do. Because once the truth is out, there's no version of my life where I go back to not knowing. There's no rewind, no reset. There's only choice. And every choice after this moment comes with a cost. By the end of that day, I'm no longer wondering if my wife is cheating or whether my best friend knew. I know. And now the question isn't about proof anymore. It's about what I'm willing to lose and what I refuse to lose when everything finally comes into the open. I don't plan the confrontation the way people think you do. There's no speech in my head, no checklist of questions. By the time I decide to talk to Mark, everything important has already settled inside me. I'm not angry anymore. I'm tired. And that makes me dangerous in a quieter way. I meet him a few days later in the same bar from the photo. Not on purpose. I just realized that if I'm going to hear the truth, I want it to happen somewhere honest. Somewhere that doesn't belong to either of us. He shows up like nothing is wrong. Smiling. Relaxed. He orders a beer and asks how I've been. I don't ease into it. I don't give him a chance to steer the conversation. I ask him one question. How long? For a moment he tries to play dumb. Just a fraction of a second too long. Then he stops. His shoulders drop. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't apologize either. He says he never wanted to hurt me. He says it got complicated. He says he thought it would fade out. That word again. Fade out. Like my marriage is a weather system he just had to wait through. I ask him if he ever planned to tell me. He hesitates. That hesitation tells me everything. He wasn't waiting for the right moment. He was waiting for it to stay hidden long enough to stop mattering. I don't raise my voice. I don't insult him. I tell him one thing calmly. That betrayal doesn't hurt because of what he did with my wife. It hurts because he woke up every day knowing the truth and chose to stand next to me anyway. He chose to laugh with me, to give me advice, to pretend loyalty was still real. He doesn't look ashamed. He doesn't even look guilty. He looks relieved. I leave without finishing my drink. Walking away feels heavier than staying would have been, but lighter than carrying him forward in my life. That night, I finally talk to Emily. I tell her I know. I don't list details. I don't show evidence. I don't need to. The look on her face changes instantly. Her denial lasts maybe 5 seconds before it collapses under its own weight. She cries. She says it was a mistake. She says it didn't mean anything. She says she never meant to hurt me. I listen. I really do. But I notice something important while she's talking. Everything she says is about intent, not impact. She keeps saying, I didn't want to hurt you, instead of, I hurt you. About what she meant, not what she did. About how she feels now, not what she chose then. I ask her one question. Why Mark? She doesn't have a good answer. She says it just happened. That it felt safe. Familiar. Easy. That answer hurts more than if she'd said she loved him. Because safe means she wasn't afraid of losing me. Familiar means she crossed that line slowly, comfortably. Easy means lying to me became routine. She asks me to stay. She says we can fix this. She says it was a weak moment. I look around the house we built together and realize something quietly devastating. Weak moments don't last months. Weak moments don't involve coordination, secrecy, and someone I trusted like family. I tell her I need space. Not time. Space. I pack a bag that night. I don't know where I'm going. Only that I can't sleep next to someone who shared a secret life with someone else. When I leave, she doesn't try to stop me. She just watches. And that silence follows me out the door. Living alone feels strange at first. Not dramatic. just empty in a way that forces you to hear your own thoughts. I replay everything more times than I want to admit, not to torture myself, but to understand how I missed it, how trust slowly turned into assumption, how loyalty turned into habit. Friends start asking questions. I keep answers short. I don't feel like turning my pain into a story people can gossip about. Mark stops texting. Emily sends messages I don't reply to right away. I'm not trying to punish anyone. I'm trying to figure out who I am without the version of my life I thought was guaranteed. What surprises me most isn't the loneliness. It's the clarity. I realize that losing my best friend hurts almost as much as losing my marriage. Not because of the time we spent together, but because of what he represented. Proof that loyalty existed. Proof that some people were solid. When that illusion breaks, it takes part of your faith in people with it. I don't know yet if I'll forgive Emily. I don't know if forgiveness even means reconciliation. What I do know is that forgiveness without accountability is just self-betrayal with a nicer name. Some nights I miss her. Some mornings I don't. Both feelings can exist at the same time, and that's something no one warns you about. I haven't told Emily yet whether I'm coming back. I haven't told Mark anything at all. Silence feels like the only honest response right now. The truth is, betrayals like this don't end with a big dramatic decision. They end with smaller ones. Who you answer, where you sleep, what kind of respect you're willing to trade for comfort. I don't know what my marriage will become, but I know this. I won't rebuild my life on top of a lie I can see clearly now. And maybe that's not closure. Maybe that's just the beginning of choosing myself for the first time in a long time. Time stretches differently once the initial shock fades. Days stop being dramatic and start becoming repetitive, and that's when the real work begins. I wake up most mornings expecting to feel relief for having stepped away, but instead I feel something more complicated. It's not regret. It's adjustment. My body is still wired to a life that doesn't exist anymore, and it hasn't caught up with the decision my mind already made. I start noticing how many of my habits were built around other people. Checking my phone out of instinct. Saving thoughts I used to share with Emily. Mentally preparing conversations that never happen. It's strange how betrayal doesn't just break trust. It disrupts muscle memory. I have to relearn how to exist without constantly orienting myself around someone else's presence. One afternoon, I run into a guy from work I haven't seen in a while. He asks how married life is treating me. The question catches me off guard. I almost answer automatically, then stop myself. I give him a vague response, something neutral, something safe. Afterward, I realize how often we perform stability for others long after it stops being real. Not because we're dishonest, but because admitting uncertainty feels like inviting chaos. Emily keeps reaching out, but the tone of her messages changes. Less apologetic, more reflective. She talks about patterns she ignored in herself, about how easy it was to drift instead of confront problems directly. I read everything. I don't reply to most of it, not because I don't care, but because I'm finally learning the difference between listening and absorbing responsibility that isn't mine. At some point, I realize I'm no longer angry. That surprises me. Anger was easier. Anger gave me direction. Without it, I'm left with quieter emotions. Disappointment, sadness, and a kind of cautious awareness I didn't have before. I start understanding that healing isn't about feeling better quickly. It's about feeling more honestly. I think a lot about Mark, too. Not obsessively, not with bitterness, but with clarity. I replay moments from our friendship and see them differently now. I notice where loyalty was assumed instead of demonstrated, where history replaced accountability. I don't feel the urge to confront him again. Closure doesn't always come from conversations. Sometimes it comes from recognizing that someone no longer has access to your inner world. Weeks turn into months. Life keeps moving forward, even when I'm not sure which direction I'm supposed to follow. I start exercising again, not to distract myself, but to reconnect with my body. I clean out old files on my phone. I donate clothes that belong to a version of me that no longer exists. Each small act feels insignificant on its own, but together they start forming a sense of ownership over my life again. Emily asks me one last time if I see a future where we try again. Not desperately, not manipulatively, just honestly. I tell her something I didn't know how to say before. That love isn't the issue. That love can survive a lot of things. But trust is different. Trust requires safety, and safety requires consistency over time. I tell her I don't know if I can ever unlearn what I know now. She listens. She doesn't argue. After that conversation, something settles inside me. Not closure. Acceptance. I realize that whatever happens next doesn't need to be justified to anyone else. I don't owe people a dramatic ending or a perfect moral lesson. I don't need to prove that I handled this the right way. The only thing that matters is whether I'm willing to live with my choices without betraying myself again. I don't know if this story ends with reconciliation or separation. I don't know if forgiveness will ever feel complete or if some part of this will always remain unresolved. What I do know is that I won't return to a life that requires me to ignore my instincts just to maintain comfort. Some people think betrayal is the end of something. I'm starting to think it's a beginning, not the kind you celebrate, but the kind that forces you to grow up in ways you didn't ask for. And maybe that's enough. Thanks for watching. If this story stayed with you, consider subscribing to the channel. More stories like this are coming.